Okay, hey folks, Mark Lockley here with a quick screencast on Chapter 13, how to work with strings. I think the content's pretty straightforward in this chapter. The chapter covers both the string builder and string utils class. Each of those classes, when to use what class when, really just depends on what you're trying to do. Both the classes have similar methods, although some of them are slightly different. One may work better for you than the other. As far as I can tell, there's no preference one way or the other for either one of those classes. Both will get the job done. In a more general sense, parsing text and doing things like pulling out characters, looking for characters, replacing text, those kinds of things are all very common for what software developers do. Myself as a web developer, often what I'm doing is either sort of input validation where a user is maybe entering some text inside of a box. Maybe you need to clean that text up or scrub. You hear the word scrub used sometimes for cleaning up text or input like that. And so I think what we're going to do today is walk through the, exercise 13.3, Pig Latin Translator. I'll get you started on that, and that's a good example of something you might do from a practical standpoint, somewhat contrived. But this idea of looking for text, replacing text, doing all of these things, that's all very common for software developers. So I'll share my screen here. Okay. Alrighty, so I think what I'll do is just let's make some comments first, just to sort of mentally walk through, the process that we want to go through. So first thing that we'll want to do here is, see if we can get this going, is, so of course we'll need a scanner object to get input from user. Again, we're going to want to get a whole line of text. We're asking the user to enter, multiple words. There's a couple different ways to approach this. The one I'm going to do is to essentially split the word up, look for spaces and split the word up in spaces and save it to an array. So I'm going to say create an array of string objects. From user input, maybe. Then I want to say loop through array and translate each word. Okay. And what we'll do is, rather than doing this inline in the main method inside the program, let's create a method outside of our main method here, and we'll call it translate. So I'm gonna say we'll call it translate word method. All right, that'll sort of clean up our input. And obviously, if we wanted to, at some point, if this program is going to grow and we wanted to abstract this out and create a class and be able to call that method on a class, then that would sort of be a way to separate the logic here. So let's do this. Let's create our method first. Let's create our translate word method that's going to sort of do all of our logic based on based on the requirements we've got, and then we'll come back and implement it up top. Again, I'm just going to do the way part, where if it's a consonant, A, E, I, O, or U, you're going to replace that with way. So so I'm going to create just a new method here. So it's going to be a static method, and it's going to return a string, and we'll call it translate word. It's going to take a single argument that's a string, and we'll just call that word. All right. And remember, we said above we were going to loop through. Once the user enters text, we'll separate that text into an array, and then we'll loop through the array, and we'll call this translate word method each time. Okay. So what are we going to do inside here? So first thing we really need to do is, in this case of this functionality of looking for if a word starts with A, E, I, O, or U, we need to get that first character. So in this case, we'll say car C equals word dot car at, and then we're going to get the character that's at in position 0. All right, and then rather than type all this in, I'm just going to paste what I've got in up above here. So then we'll do something like this, and then we need to return. We're going to return word. Okay. All right. So what have we got here? Let me move this over a little so it's a little better formatted. So here we're doing car equals C. That's the first letter of the word. If the first letter of the word equals A, E, I, O, or U, these are all or statements, then we're going to add plus equal. We're going to put way in front of it. Okay. Yeah, and we'll see once we implement this up top, we should be able to see it. So, okay, so that's our method we've got. We think that's right. We'll test it later, but right now it's right now that looks good. So first off, let's create a scanner object, and let's also get our input from the user. So I'm just gonna, I'll put that in here, and so yeah, I need to create a scanner object also. So there's our scanner object. Let's fix some formatting, and then we also need to import the scanner utility class. All right, so now we're getting our input. Let's create an array and then split the text at spaces and then save that to an array. So this is what this will do right here. String square brackets is going to create this words array for us, and then we're going to be input.split. We're going to split it on any spaces, so that'll give us an array of words. We need to create a string here that we're going to be appending to. So later when we loop through this array, we're going to call the translate word method down here, and then when we return word, we need to save that translated word back to a new sentence, essentially, and that's what this pig Latin string will be here. And then here's where the magic will happen here. So here we'll loop through. So here I've got a simple for loop that's going to loop through the words array. And then for each of those words, pig Latin plus equals translate word, and then I'm also taking care of my lowercase here too. And then that loops through each word, calls this translate word method, and then finally at the end, we're simply going to output the result of or output the string pig Latin, which is where our word is being saved each time. So let's give this a whirl and see what it looks like. This is a test. Okay, this is way away test. Okay, that sort of works a way. Yeah, this yeah, so this right. So this sort of hits any of our AEIOs are used. The only ones here is, so is way, and then a way. Notice we can see those there. Okay, so I think this will get you started for project 13.3. Again, you'll also want to handle any Y's. You know, if the letter starts with Y, it should be treated as a consonant. Also ask you to remove any special characters. Also don't translate any numbers. So there's a handful of requirements there. I'll leave it to you all to implement those. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks.